They connect presidents, pop stars, and millions of just plain folks. They're the little messages that are changing the world in 140 characters or less. And joining us now here in the Situation Room, Biz Stone. He's the co-founder of Twitter. 3 years ago, it's been in business for 3 years, right?
Yes.
How'd you come up with this concept?
Well, actually, the concept was born from kind of a hack week or two that we had, and we were supposed to be working on an entirely different project, and my co-founder, Evan Williams, said, you know what, we're not emotionally invested in this project. Everyone pair up and create something cool. And so I had become friends with one of the engineers who was working at this other project with us named Jack Dorsey, and we took those 2 weeks to build a prototype of Twitter. And we had a lot of fun doing it. Most people thought it was stupid, but we loved it. And that's how Twitter was born.
How'd you get the name?
Well, there was only a couple of us at the time, so it was very mobile-centric in the beginning, as it is now. And the idea was something that would, you know, it would just vibrate in your pocket. It had this sense of urgency. So we came up with names like Jitter and Twitch, and near Twitch and the thesaurus was Twitter. And I just loved it because I recognized there's a real word that references nature. You know, the birds twitter in the trees. And I think most of technology really is just, in many cases, these large systems like Twitter are just mimicking natural systems. So I was so passionate about it, the other guys just said, okay, Twitter, just to shut you up.
You notice that my questions are 140 characters or less. Your answers are much longer.
Yes.
Right.
I prefer a longer format in the talking world.
But when we tweet, it's got to be 140 characters or less. Here's anher question, 140 characters or less. What do you think Twitter's biggest impact has been?
Well, I mean, from my perspective, I think that Twitter's biggest impact has shown us that it really doesn't matter how sophisticated our algorithms get or how many machines we add to the network, that if Twitter is to be a triumph, it's not to be a triumph of technology, but a triumph of humanity. What we've seen people using it for during times of crisis and to raise awareness and funds for charities and to, you know, in journalism and just in everyday life has shown us that people are basically good, and when you give them a tool to do good things, they'll prove it to you on a daily basis, and that has been sort of a big inspiration for all of us working on Twitter.
Name a few politicians you follow.
I actually follow President Medvedev on Twitter, even though he tweets in Russian. I have a little our iPhone app has a little translate button, so it's kind of cool. I follow the White House. I follow Obama. And I think that's about it as far as I can recall. I think I might follow Claire McCaskill, too, because I met her last April, and she was a hoot.
What about me?
Of course. I will now be following you.
I'm going to check to see if you follow me. And I want to make sure you do. Do you?
I'm going to check, too.
You better check. Obviously, it hasn't made a big impact in your life, my tweets. Is that what you're saying?
Well, now that I've met you, I'm definitely going to follow you.
Social media in general, are we giving too much personal information out there, putting it out there, whether in tweets or on Facebook or other places?
I think we're still figuring that out. I think a lot of people think, you know, we've got to figure it out, but really, you know, when you look back, the web is still young. There are a bunch of physicists got together and figured out a way to share documents, and that turned into everything from blogging to banking. And people are still discovering blogging, and then they're discovering social networking, and now they're discovering Twitter. And I think we're still discovering what the lines are in terms of the benefit of putting information out there and meeting new people and getting a job, and the disadvantages in saying something you regret and you know, revealing too much information. So I think we're still identifying what those correct boundaries are, and we're in the process of that now.
I asked some of my Twitter followers for suggested questions, and let's put a few up behind you, and we'll see. This one came in from @Wisdom in Bloom. I would ask him if he could sum up the real point of Twitter. What would it be?
I'd say the real point of Twitter is to help people discover and share what it is that's happening around them in their world. It really has become an information network that's very focused on real time.
Here's another question from @Gail Harrier, and I'll put it up there if you want to take a look. What's his next project?
My next project is to continue working on Twitter. We're very much invested in putting all of our time into Twitter. I do advise a few companies on the side. But mostly, I spend most of my time thinking and working on Twitter.
Yankee Fan 25. Are you surprised at how much impact social media has on the daily news cycle and its use by people in suppressed nations?
I'm surprised by the rate at which it's been adopted, but I'm not completely surprised because my co-founder Evan Williams and I have been developing these large-scale systems that allow people to express themselves and communicate for more than 10 years now, having developed blogging platforms. So to see the media and journalism take to Twitter wasn't entirely surprising. I thought actually very early on that we could be very complementary to the service. I mean, as a service to journalism, and that's proving, I think, to be true.
We have another one from Agency Note. How do you make money on Twitter with the lack of advertising?
Actually, we have advertising on Twitter. One of the things that we focused on very early was building value before profit. And we could have put traditional banner ads all over the site earlier and made money earlier. But we wanted to grow the network, make it relevant, make it useful to many people around the world in their everyday life before we introduced a relevant and meaningful way to monetize the system. My co-founder and I used to work at Google. They did a really good job of creating AdWords, which are actually advertisements that are also relevant to users. So when you're searching for something like coffee, and a result happens to be from Starbucks, but it's what you were looking for, but it's also an ad, that's great. It's native to the system. So we make our money right now using a suite of promoted products we call promoted tweets, promoted trends, and promoted accounts. And all of these are just native aspects of Twitter. A tweet is in Twitter, but a company can pay to promote that tweet. In other words, have more people see it.
One final question, 140 characters, why?
Well, the international limit on text messaging is 160 characters, and from the very beginning, we knew that we wanted Twitter to be sort of agnostic with regard to the device that you use to tweet from. We wanted tweets to be able to be written and read in their entirety on all 5 billion mobile phones that are active on the planet today, as well as the 2 million web accounts that people are using today. So since 160 is the limit on SMS, we reserved a little bit of room in front of the tweet for the author's name so you'd know who wrote it, and we standardized on 140.
But still, you have some technical problems now and then. As a Twitter user or myself, I can testify.
Yeah, we still, I mean, we had a lot of growing pains in 2008 and 2009 as we just skyrocketed, and we're still growing by 370,000 people sign up every day to Twitter. We've gotten a much better handle on it, but we're still suffering some growing pains due to this amazing growth.
Well, you've done an amazing job, Biz Stone. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming into the Situation Room.